The Quest for the Flower of Immortality. Part 3. The Sacrifice. As the vortex grew in intensity, Ilara's magic surged, but it was not enough to close the rift. The power of the fifth dimension was too overwhelming, and it threatened to engulf their world. Thaddeus, despite his dark tendencies, understood the gravity of the situation. He could see the strain in Ilara's eyes, the desperation in her movements, and something shifted within him. "We can't do this alone," he said, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "If Rowan is truly ascending, then we must do the opposite. We need to anchor ourselves, anchor this world, to prevent it from unraveling." Ilara nodded, understanding what he meant. Together they began to chant an ancient spell, one that called upon the spirits of the earth, the air, the fire, and the water. The elements responded, their energies intertwining to create a protective barrier around the rift. But it was not enough. They needed something more, something personal and powerful. Thaddeus looked at Ilara, his eyes filled with a mix of resolve and regret. "It requires a sacrifice," he whispered. "A life for a life. The balance must be maintained." Ilara's heart sank. She knew what he was suggesting, but before she could protest, Thaddeus stepped forward, his expression calm, almost peaceful. "I've always craved power, Ilara, but I see now that true power lies in protecting what matters. This world needs a guardian, and that guardian must be you. I will be the anchor." Before Ilara could stop him, Thaddeus plunged his hand into the vortex, allowing it to consume him. His form shimmered, and for a moment, he was everywhere and nowhere, a part of the universe itself. The vortex slowed. The rift began to close, and as Thaddeus's essence was absorbed into the fabric of reality, the balance was restored. Ilara felt a tear slip down her cheek. Thaddeus, the warlock who had once sought power above all, had made the ultimate sacrifice to save them all. The rift sealed with a final burst of energy, and the night became still once more. The return in the fifth dimension, Rowan felt the shift. The balance had been restored, and with it, the path to return was opened. But as he prepared to descend, he realized that the knowledge he had gained was not meant for him alone. The secrets of the universe were vast, but they were not his to keep. The true power of the fifth dimension was in understanding and sharing, not in hoarding. With a final deep breath, Rowan willed himself back to the physical world. He descended slowly, his form materializing in the sacred grove where Ilara stood, tears still fresh on her face. When Rowan landed, the Philosopher's Stone slipped from his hand, now inert, its power spent. He looked at Ilara, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what had transpired. "Thaddeus, he gave his life," Rowan said, his voice thick with emotion. Ilara nodded, wiping away her tears. "He understood what it meant to truly protect the world, Rowan. And you brought back something more valuable than immortality. You brought back understanding." Rowan glanced at the emerald tablets which lay beside him, still glowing faintly. "We have a duty to share this knowledge, to teach others what we have learned. But we must do so wisely with humility." Ilara smiled softly, the weight of their journey settling on her shoulders. "We will honor Thaddeus's sacrifice by doing just that. The Flower of Immortality, the Philosopher's Stone, the emerald tablets, they are all part of a greater whole. They are not tools of power, but guides to wisdom." The legacy. The years that followed, Ilara and Rowan became revered as sages, passing down the knowledge they had gained to those who were worthy. They founded a school dedicated to the study of the esoteric, where magic was taught not as a means of control, but as a path to understanding the universe and one's place within it. The Flower of Immortality was never used for personal gain. Instead, it was cultivated, its essence used to heal and to protect, a symbol of the balance between life and death, power and humility. As for Thaddeus, his name was etched into the annals of history as the warlock who chose to save the world rather than dominate it. His spirit became a guardian of the sacred grove, where the veil between worlds remained thin, a place where those who sought wisdom could still hear his voice in the rustling leaves and the whispering winds. And so, the tale of the quest for the Flower of Immortality became a legend, a story told to inspire future generations to seek not just power, but the wisdom to use it wisely. In the end, it was not the flower that granted immortality, but the legacy of those who understood its true value. To be continued.